Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Blue Jays came right back after an 18-inning epic and shut down the Dodgers in Game 4 to square the World Series. Also, the Bucks and Knicks went blow for blow, and the Indianapolis Colts are the team to beat in the NFL.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
After a marathon of a Game 3 of the World Series, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays had to go back out and do it all over again on Tuesday night. The Blue Jays showed no ill effects of a gut-wrenching loss. They have now evened this series at 2 games apiece after a 6-2 win in LA. Braden Owasco from Locked On Blue Jays joins me now. And Braden, you know, the thing in baseball is your momentum is only as good as next day's pitcher. In this game, you got a little bit of both from the Jays. They got some really good pitching, and the bats, they came through yet again.
Yeah, a little surprising, to be honest. I think when the news came down that George Springer wasn't going to be playing, I think we all saw that coming when he left in the marathon with an injury. I don't think anybody expected him to play. But I think in the back of a lot of Blue Jays fans' heads, they were pretty concerned because now you have a slightly injured Bo Bichette, no George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's been doing his thing all season, postseason long. And it just sort of felt like things were piling up against this team. And then to have Shane Bieber come out and do what he did, and then the bullpen as well, which has actually been excellent for the last 2 appearances. I think I'm sitting here in a 2-2 series pretty shocked.
And you know, like to get 6 runs with 1 home run, that's not really modern baseball. That's not the way that this is usually supposed to go. And we know the Dodgers, like, they have every big name player that you could want, every big name pitcher that you could want, at least among the starters. And they've gotten spectacular performances. We saw Shohei Ohtani in Game 3 and what he can do. What was it in this game that really keyed their ability to hold those star players down?
To be honest with you, this is exactly the Blue Jays baseball that we've seen all year. It's, can this team, get them on, get them over, get them in, if you want to use that one, right? It's the Blue Jays style of baseball. It's not the modern day game. It a lot is just playing to each player's strength, not necessarily how you're supposed to play. Go up there and smack a home run, hit a double off the wall, drive in 1. That's just not this team's game. It's always, hey, do we need to throw down a sack bunt? Do we have to be super smart on the base paths? Is it taking the extra base when they can? Is it sending a guy maybe when you shouldn't? It's all those little things that makes this team so good. And that's not even talking about the defensive side of the ball. That helps out this team a ton. Having Dalton Varsho make a sliding catch in the outfield just like it's nothing is one of the best feelings in baseball when you have a defender that's just that good. And the starting pitching, I think, as this playoffs has been going along, I think John Schneider's been learning about who to pitch in which scenario. Should they even pitch to Ohtani? And so on. So I think it's learning from game to game, and something that this team's done very well as well. Of, okay, what did we just learn from Game 2 and Game 3? How can we use that in Game 4? And now what can we take out of Game 4 into Game 5? So as much as there's a lot of people giving John Schneider a lot of grief, and to be honest with you, I've been on that train as well. But in certain situations, you have to understand what he's been able to put together here this season.
This series is so fascinating culturally, not just because it's, U.S., Canada, Toronto, L.A., but because of what the Dodgers represent to baseball and among baseball fans. What is on the line here, do you think, culturally with the Blue Jays? What are they playing for? Because it feels like something more than just a historic title.
It's something that I've tossed around quite a bit. So a couple things. This season, if the Dodgers go back-to-back, they now go for looking for a three-peat right before a year that's pretty much confirmed to be a lockout season.
Yep.
You'll have a monster team going into a lockout on a three-peat, a dynasty team. because they pay a lot of guys. And I don't just blame the Dodgers. I know there are a lot of people out there that want to hate them. Other teams don't want to pay guys, and the Dodgers are willing to. So good for them. Sometimes players go and say, hey, I want to stay here. I want to be here. This is what I want. And they're like, no, thanks. We're not interested in that. And then, okay, well, I'll just go take the money from LA then. And so this leads into a bigger conversation about a salary floor. I don't think there's ever going to be a salary cap in baseball, but a salary floor, I think, solves a lot of issues here. But if the Blue Jays were to go and win this World Series, what this means for baseball is, hey, there are different ways to build a ball team. And it's not just paying a ton of guys a ton of money. It's being smart with your offseason acquisitions. It's being smart with trades. It's having a really good scouting department so they know which guys are going to be useful where. So it really is a massive baseball conversation. And to be honest with you, something that probably this offseason, I think a lot of baseball media should really take a hard look at. I think it's going to be super fun.
Stay up to date all year on the Toronto Blue Jays by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Blue Jays on your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Bucks squared off with the Knicks. Before we get to that, the Saints have a new starting quarterback. The NFL season is rolling along, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for this weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I want to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. New Orleans Saints are now turning to rookie QB Tyler Shough at quarterback.
The New Orleans Saints have a new starting quarterback. According to reports, it will be Tyler Shough moving forward as the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. That's not really a big surprise based on everything that we've heard from Kellen Moore and the New Orleans Saints coaching staff. This is simply logically consistent with what it is that they've set forth. After benching Spencer Rattler in the second half of their loss up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it follows to reason that the Saints didn't want to do exactly what it is that they said that they wouldn't do. Flip-flop going back and forth between quarterbacks. That would have been antithetical to what it is that has been the process for this organization all the way through when it comes to the quarterback decision. So the Saints could have up to 9 games now to evaluate Tyler Shough as their new starting quarterback to see if he can pass through the audition and get cast as the team starter in 2026. That'll give them 8 games and 8 starts in this year on Spencer Rattler, 9 games at max on Tyler Shough, and then make decisions about how they want to address the quarterback position in the offseason. I'll have more for you on this story, what to expect from Tyler Shough, what to expect from Kellen Moore, and how the offense changes with its new quarterback, all on the Locked On Saints podcast.
Tyrese Maxey's amazing start to the season rolls on, this time dropping 39 to push the Sixers to, don't look now, 4-0.
This 76ers team just continues to impress, and winning the second leg of a back-to-back, the first of 16 back-to-backs you have on the season, was insanely impressive. Sixers trailed by as many as 19 points in the game, trailed by 16 points going into the fourth quarter, and then Tyrese Maxey and company came alive. Maxey finished with 39 points, getting 21 of his points in the fourth quarter and overtime, and also helped swing momentum back in favor of the Sixers late in that fourth quarter and through OT. Adem Bona with a huge helper, by the way, towards the end of the fourth quarter that gave the 76ers their first lead since the 3:56 mark of the first quarter. Bona also coming up with 5 blocks in the Sixers' 139-134 overtime victory over the Wizards. Also worth mentioning, Joel Embiid, 23 minutes played, a season high, 25 points in that time, also a season high.
And on the ice, the Hurricanes collapse late against the Golden Knights.
The Carolina Hurricanes lose 6-3 to the Vegas Golden Knights in their first home loss of the season. Andrei Svechnikov finally scores his first goal, his first point of the season. Jordan Martinook scores his first goal, and Logan Stankoven did give the Hurricanes a lead. The power play for the Hurricanes did go 1-for-1 on the night, thanks to Andrei Svechnikov. Unfortunately, Pavel Dorofeyev scores 2, Jack Eichel scores 2, and just one of those games where some stuff was getting called, some weren't, and in the end, it's a game that got away from the Hurricanes. They lost Shane Gostisbehere after the first period. At one point, lost Joel Nystrom for a little bit. So the Hurricanes are they're feeling the effects of losing a bunch of guys right now. And, it's one of those things where, hey, you're still 6-3 on the season, but you definitely need some help. And now it's on to Thursday against the New York Islanders for the last game of October.
The Bucks took down the Eastern Conference favorites in Milwaukee on Tuesday night. Our Locked On Bucks crew broke down a big dub.
I do want to acknowledge the emotions that go into a loss like that. That was very painful for me. I'm sure it was painful for our audience, and just didn't feel good with seeing how they played and then just kind of letting go of the rope and seeing Giannis just like dominate the game. It's just like that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's really ugly and awful. Seeing Karl-Anthony Towns play the way he did, seeing Josh Hart play the way he did, seeing how badly they missed a couple guys by the names of Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson, who is the actual antidote for Giannis Antetokounmpo, is Mitchell Robinson. So all of that together was really, really rough. And if we're going to talk about specifics, I think the main thing that, there's two main things at least that stuck out to me as far as like pushing towards the second half collapse on top of what the Bucks were able to do and what Giannis was able to do. Number one, Karl-Anthony Towns, they have to figure out how to involve him more effectively in an ongoing basis. They need to figure out that dynamic. That is the one thing I was worried about coming into the season, is the Karl-Anthony Towns dynamic, how they can maximize him, how they can optimize his ability outside of just trying to throw it to him in the post. It felt a lot like, for the first time, felt a lot like a Tibbs game where it was like, well, Towns hasn't scored. I know. Let's throw it to him in the post and just let him isolate Kyle Kuzma. Like, that's not going to necessarily work if you don't do it with the requisite lineups. And then Josh Hart closing the game. When he was in at the end of the game, I said the Knicks are not going to win this game, unfortunately, because Josh Hart is not himself. Josh Hart is going to get healthy. He's going to look better. That is not the case right now. He's a negative on offense. I think he hurts them. And I think Landry Shamet, a very nice performance. And I think Landry Shamet has been great in the preseason and to start the season. So he would have been my call there. But those are kind of the two things. But I do want to acknowledge how painful the loss was. But all is not lost. It's early in the season. Knicks are trying things out. So I'll say that to dampen it a little bit. But those are my kind of general thoughts about that second half collapse. That was just brutal.
Yeah, Cat is now shooting. I don't have the exact number. His Basketball Reference is only updated through 3 games, but they have him at 42% from 2-point range. He was 2 for 9 from there tonight, so that didn't get better. He's below 40% from 2-point range on the season. That is a big issue for the Knicks, like especially when Mike Brown is leaning into like a more optimized spacing lineups. Like that should really benefit Cat, and he should be able to go one-on-one a lot, and he should be able to cook off the dribble. And he's actually like pretty clearly gotten better at those live dribble kickouts that really plagued him when he was doubled. Had like a really nice hook pass too, like even off of a post up where the Bucks got a good double and he swung it late. I thought Doc Rivers though had a really good game plan and at times really did frustrate Cat with like late help, late double teams, and like maybe that quad is bothering him, but I don't want to use that as an excuse because he's looked like awfully explosive at times. Hasn't had those like drives and big dunks yet this year, so maybe that's a sign that he doesn't have his explosion. But there are times where he's just like ripped off the dribble and gotten right to the rim and scored. So I don't really want to use injuries as an excuse. I do think some of it is like when the Knicks are playing at their best offensively in the early portions of this season, they get into like driving kick. And Cat, like, again, he can do a little bit of that, but I don't think that's the cleanest fit for his game. He likes to catch. He likes to survey. He likes to get it like almost like Carmelo Anthony used to do, like get into his jab steps a little bit and then go. He can be a spacer in that. He can cut and he can be a finisher potentially. Like there are times where his connective passing is really helpful. There have been times where they used him as a hub, and that's looked like a really good fit. We didn't see a whole lot of that in this game where they try to play through him in the high post, but like just generally like, and I don't know if we're going to do it, like spoilers for people. We're going to do a 2-part episode, kind of just diagnosing the first 4 games for the Knicks tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll go much, much deeper on this, but that's kind of what I find myself wondering. Like, how do you marry those two worlds with this offensive system and this flow that I really, really like, but at least right now feels like it excludes like your second best offensive player. But not only that, as we often talk about, one of the 12 or so most talented offensive players in the NBA, and you're just not going to win a championship if you're not getting the most out of Cat on that end of the floor.
I think the biggest conversation we're going to have this season, Gavin, you and I and this pod and just talking about this, is going to be like, how do you maximize Karl-Anthony Towns? And it's kind of funny because a lot of it was that same conversation last season. I think this one's going to be slightly different. The difference is, or one of the main differences, I think we're going to see different attempts. I don't think we're going to see it just, trying to hammer a round peg into a square hole all season. I think we're going to see different types of dynamics and different ways to really, put a spotlight on Karl-Anthony Towns' gifted basketball abilities. And to be honest, I just felt like tonight was one attempt and it didn't go well. It wasn't the right thing to do necessarily, but I don't think we're going to see them just keep trying to hammer it home the same way over and over again. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is already being a little bit of a squeaky wheel, as we've seen with some of his comments, and they really have to get him right mentally. He has to feel good. And I think by the end of the season, I'm not saying he's going to feel as good as Mikal Bridges has felt, but I think he'll feel a lot better. I think he'll be more integrated. I think he'll be more optimized, and it'll be a bit of a path getting there. And so hopefully Knicks fans have the stomach to stay the course and go with the ups and the downs and see Karl-Anthony Towns he's going to have a game probably very soon where he scores 42 points and hits 8 threes, and he's going to go off and just kind of go with those ups and the downs as we see them trying to figure out how to really get the best out of him.
Stay up to date all year on the Milwaukee Bucks by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bucks on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Colts are now the team to beat. It might be fair to say that the Indianapolis Colts are legit after their impressive 7-1 start. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins and Kevin Ostreicher took a look ahead and explained why the Colts are not just legit, they're in a position to prove themselves as true Super Bowl contenders.
Danny Dimes, man, I don't know what they have going on in Indianapolis right now, but I'll tell you what, this team is absolutely for real. And it's not just about Daniel Jones. Obviously you have Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Warren's made a really nice impression as a rookie early on here for that offense. I mean, they are just balling out right now. And in a division where, we weren't really sure who was going to take control. Was Houston going to just win it by default again? Or was the team going to step up and perform? It's been the Colts the whole time. And I love what Shane Steichen has done. They bring in Lou Anarumo to run their defense over from Cincinnati after he Cincinnati said, we're not firing Zach Taylor. We're not doing it. Yeah, we're going to fire the defensive coordinator and not the head coach. And looks like they probably should have done both. But even regardless of that, Anarumo's come in and that defense has done a good enough job. Right now, the Colts are the best team in the AFC. You could argue they might be the best team in football. And I think for now, you have an opportunity if you're Indianapolis to really make a point over the next month. You've already proven you're for real, right? That's already been proven. But now you have an opportunity to prove that you are true Super Bowl contenders and should be in that conversation for the rest of the season as opposed to just right now.
The Colts are really well coached. They're really talented. And the quarterback is playing really well. We know that Daniel Jones has not been an elite quarterback in his NFL career, but he's playing at an elite level right now. And we saw Jimmy Garoppolo with a ton of star power around him make it to a Super Bowl. We saw Brock Purdy with a ton of star power around him make it to a Super Bowl. And we've seen Daniel Jones play at an extremely high level. I don't want to compare Daniel Jones to Jalen Hurts, but last year, that was the team that won the Eagles their Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts did just enough most of the year. And then he played really well in 2 games at the very end. That's all you have to do to win a Super Bowl. It's not going to be easy. But when you are this cohesive, this well coached, And this gifted, especially on offense. I mean, they can beat you in so many different ways offensively. This does feel like some of those 49er teams from a couple years ago, though they don't have the same defensive star talent. Those teams were about their offense. That Brock Purdy 2023 team was about their offense. Now, they lost to Patrick Mahomes because they have Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and you don't. And that's ultimately the problem that the Indianapolis Colts have, is they're in the conference with the alien quarterbacks. You got to beat those guys to get to the Super Bowl. Can they? I guess we'll see. And finally, Cam Skattebo just got the full Philly treatment. After Skattebo's ankle went sideways against the Eagles earlier this week, he was rushed into emergency surgery and kept overnight in Philadelphia. The next day, Eagles chief of security, Big Dom DeSandro, walked into Penn Presbyterian with pizza and cheesesteaks and sat with the rookie. If you thought that was nice, Eagles fans actually cheered for Skattebo as he was carted off the field. If Philly fans are showing kindness to a rival, we might finally be healing as a country. Skattebo also sounds like something you would say in a Delco accent. Skattebo. No, we'll work on it. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, how can the Dodgers respond after the Jays dominated Game 4? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.